Well, Jenna, I think you have to attribute a lot of this to Jason Garrett. I think play calling wise, there are some things that he could have done to help Dak Prescott.
Sure.
You can't fix the personnel on the team. You're going to be without Ezekiel Elliott for another 3 games. Tyron Smith, you can't control that injury. Sean Lee being out on the defensive side of the ball. So what you have to do is try to use some scheme things, some X's and O's to mitigate the losses that you have, because your team is designed to play a certain style of football. Right now, they want to be a ball control offense, and that's great. But you're going to have to figure out how to get the production in the run game when you're missing Ezekiel Elliott. That's why I don't understand why Jason Garrett didn't use Dak Prescott in some read zone schemes, some things that he did in college at Mississippi State, try to get him acclimated to playing without Zeke and put more pressure on the defense, because you don't have that home run threat in the backfield. You look at the 3 losses that they've had, they've been outrushed 428 to 298 yards. The Dallas Cowboys averaging less than 100 yards, but the most telling statistic is the 8 turnovers in those 3 games. So that tells me that the quarterback has too much pressure on him right now, and they need to find a way to alleviate some of the stress, some of the heavy lifting in that offense from Dak Prescott, because your defense has shown that they can't hold up when the other opposing offense dominates time of possession. So they got to figure out a way to be able to control the ball, possess the ball, and that starts with being able to involve Dak Prescott in the run game.
Listen, those 8 turnovers in 3 games, there's only 3 quarterbacks in the league that have had at least 8 turnovers in 3 games at any point this season. DeShone Kizer, who looks totally not ready, and he's in Cleveland. Mike Glennon, who quickly...
You know how bad Kizer is when the head coach runs over and hugs the backup of the other team before the game.
I tried to trade for you, AJ.
You know you bad.
Right, okay, so DeShone Kizer's on that list. Mike Glennon, who lost his job, is on that list. And now Dak. And the reason it's so concerning is all these best quarterback rating through 24 games, all these great numbers Dak had were predicated on not turning the ball over. Wasn't because he was throwing for 330 yards, wasn't because he was averaging 10 yards per attempt, it was because he wasn't turning the ball over. But the reason, CC, that people are honing in on Jason Garrett is because, fairly or not, people look to one thing coaches can do during the game, aside from clock management and challenges, is halftime adjustments. How well do you react to what the other team's doing, what you're doing in the first half, come out in the second half? And that's where the Cowboys have been the worst team in the league outside of Indianapolis. Like, the Cowboys this year are 7th in the NFL. That's pretty damn good in first half point differential. 7th. They are 30th in the NFL in second half point differential. So in the first half of games, they play like a team. It's similar to last year. Not quite as good, but similar to last year. In the second half of games, they play like the Cleveland Browns. And so that's why people are focusing in on Jason Garrett, fair or not.
I don't think they should focus on Jason Garrett, and the reason why there's a couple things based on your numbers. You talk about them dominating after a week of practice. So obviously the head coach has them mentally and physically prepared for the game. All right? So we're getting to halftime for the most part with the lead, right? We can agree on that.
Yes.
All right, so now let's talk about the offense and defensive coordinator. More so the offensive coordinator in Scott Lanahan. Now, I know Scott. I believe he's a competent offensive coordinator. But Jason Garrett, before he got Zeke and before he got Dak, you know what his record was? Try 45 and 43. All right, so I don't know when we increased the expectations for Jason Garrett. Did we just increase them with those players he drafted? To me, this shouldn't be Jason Garrett, because you know if you're in Dallas, if you're the head coach of Dallas, you really know who the coach is. That's Jerry Jones. So Jerry Jones, you have to blame, because Jerry Jones runs everything. And how would I blame Jerry Jones? Jerry Jones was spreading this concept that Zeke wasn't going to be suspended. He was telling anybody who would listen, Zeke's not going to be suspended. So what do you think he was telling the other players? What do you think he was telling the head coach and offensive coordinator? Use this guy as much. We're not going to miss him. Don't get the other guys ready to play. So for me, I can't say Jason Garrett when I didn't have those great expectations. And I know Jerry runs and controls the Dallas Cowboys. And the numbers that based on Jason Garrett as a head coach, he has the team prepared. Now, they might not be making the adjustments, but for me, Scott Lanahan and Jerry Jones are the people. If you're going to point some blame based on the numbers you guys presented to me, those would be the guys that I would pick out based on the team goes into the game prepared. Jerry Jones was the only one in Dallas spreading that propaganda that Zeke wasn't going to be suspended. So the coaching staff bought into it. Now they're not prepared when Zeke is gone and you see Dak struggle. So that's who I would point the finger at if I was pointing at one or two people.
My concern, Chris Canty, is that this is spilling into the locker room and what that means. We talk a lot on this show about once you lose your locker room, is there a way to get it back? As a player, talk to me about what that means when these guys don't have full faith in Jason Garrett. Or as Cece said, maybe it's higher up and it's not about Jason Garrett at all.
Well, Jenna, as a player, you just want your head coach to be able to give you answers. You want to be able to have your head coach be able to tell you the path to victory for your team in any given Sunday. So you don't necessarily need a head coach to be the cheerleader, although sometimes that's necessary. It's more so about trying to figure out how we can be successful week in and week out. And right now, Jason Garrett doesn't seem to have any answers to be able to solve the problem of missing Ezekiel Elliott out of the lineup. They haven't been able to do the things from a scheme perspective to be able to adjust to what teams are doing from, because Dak Prescott now is not having the opportunity to throw the one-on-one coverage. He's seeing a lot of different coverages from those secondaries that he's facing, and because of that, he's having trouble. He's struggling to be a drop-back passer because he doesn't have the run game to lean on.
Here's the only issue I have with what you said, Cece, about Jerry Jones and his propaganda, right? You heard that propaganda too, but you knew Zeke was going to be suspended. I
don't work for Jerry Jones.
Right. So correct. Right. But that doesn't. The point that I'm making is.
I think I had a better source.
Well, so hold on. But I didn't have any source. I just knew league history. I knew, like, hey, Zeke's serving these games. If Brady had to serve his 4, Zeke's serving his 6. I didn't have to make any phone calls to Park Avenue. I didn't have to call anybody. I just had to look at the precedent. So I get it that if when Jerry comes to Scott Linehan or Jason Garrett, it's like, you know, Zeke's going to play. They're like, yeah, boss, no problem. We got it. Then when Jerry leaves the room, they should get together and be like, listen, Zeke is going to be suspended. We know he's going to be suspended. How do we prepare for him being suspended? Like, if you knew it.
If Jerry sees Zeke out of the rotation, if Jerry sees that Zeke is on the sideline, he's not hurt, Jerry is in tune enough with that football team like Al Davis, he will call down to the sideline. So you think you're going to try to develop another player without Jerry Jones? Like, you don't know how the Dallas Cowboys run, son. All right, this is how it's going down. It's going down Jerry's way. That's the way it has been. And you saw how firm he was in his stance when he told Roger Goodell. Now, you think Jason Garrett, Roger backed up. Roger gave him some resistance. No, you think Jason Garrett and them got some resistance for Jerry when Jerry was emphatic? Oh, the guy's not going to miss. Yeah, it's easy on TV to say, oh, yeah, you know something? I'll stand up to Jerry Jones. But when he's cashing them checks for you, he signed on that dotted line, and he can change your career just like that. Yes, sir, boss. Zeke, we're going to run him in there. Yes, sir, we're going to give him the ball.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.